It's 12:30 on a Tuesday. What a wonderful Tuesday it is as well. I'm always reminded by Louise Hayes about every day being the start of the best day of the rest of your life. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the Mindset Michelle TV show. And I'm so super excited today to have this fabulous guest with me, Azadeh Williams. Azadeh is this amazing woman. How many times can I say amazing? Right? Amazing woman who has a global marketing and digital agency. She's also had an incredible career and history as a worldwide award-winning journalist, and she is definitely one of the women to watch here in Australia as she's an up-and-coming superstar. So Azzy, welcome to the show today, and please tell the viewers a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, thank you so much, Michelle. It's such a lovely opportunity to be on your show. And I feel really humbled by your stellar introduction. Yes, as you mentioned, I have a background as a journalist. I was actually a lawyer before I started working in journalism. And now I run a B2B global media and marketing firm, and we specialize in the B2B tech sector, property, tax, SaaS, cloud, and AI, as well as MarTech. So very much a global firm, fast growing. We absolutely love what we do. We have an amazing client base, and we have really exciting ambitions as well for the future.
And what's that thread there, just as we're getting to know you a little bit more, what's the thread there, do you think, between journalism and MarTech and all of the other amazing super skills that you have there?
Yes, so I have been told by a number of people, oh, you have a very checkered past to lead you up to here. But the journey has led me here, and I can talk you through that journey. I started my career as a banking and finance lawyer for one of Australia's top firms. And look, it was a great opportunity, but my passion was always about writing about law and business and finance. I always felt that I could communicate and instill change through the power of communication rather than practicing the law. So I made a big decision to move from law to become a journalist. I was at mid-20s, I moved away from legal practice and became Thomson Reuters' first legal editor of the new newswire they were just putting out. This was, the internet was just taking off and digital content was just taking off. So I was one of the youngest editors. Most of the people.
You mean there was a time before the internet now?
Absolutely. And there was so much. I still remember dedicating so much of my time to print work. So it was an amazing opportunity, and we were generating a lot of content fast. We learned about the whole landscape, how technology was starting to impact business making decisions, AI and its role within the legal sector and finance and within business decision making. There were so many exciting things happening. And my passion for media, I was in my happy space. And I remember getting an interview for one of Australia's largest newspapers, which will be unnamed. And I went there and I had my hopes and dreams to work for this publication. And I was the only non-white person in that room. Everyone else had, normal Anglo-Saxon sounding names, and they ridiculed. Look, I came in with a portfolio which was about that thick, and they ridiculed my name. I had my maiden name is a lot longer than my married name. Then they said, oh, how are we going to fit your name in the byline? And at that time, there was not one single non-Anglo-Saxon sounding name in that publication. Now things have slightly changed. I think there's one for every 100 journalists that's still there. I think that publication still has a long way to go for diversity and, leveling the playing field. But I was absolutely crushed. I was really in my 20s. I was just devastated. And it really knocked my confidence as a journalist for a little while. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to let this get to me. I know in my heart what my passions are and where my talent is. And I could see the GFC coming. I could see it a mile away. So I said, okay, where is the news going to be? Where is the epicenter of this news? Where can I really be to be in the midst of this? And I thought, London. Let's go to London. Packed my bags. I went to London. I'd never been to the UK before. I didn't know anybody in the UK. I went there and I networked like crazy. Within 3 months, I had a full-page feature about private equity in the Times.
Wow, that's pretty impressive, yeah.
Yeah, one of the biggest publications in the world. And they didn't care about my name. They didn't care how it sounded or how long it was. All they cared about was that I had a legal background. I understood business. I understood how to articulate very complex, challenges and technical issues that were happening in the world. And I could deliver a great, piece of communication that could be understood at a mass scale. And, that kickstarted me on a whole new global journey. So, working as a journalist, publisher, publishing incredible reports for the Times and Raconteur, which is a business supplement, interviewing incredible global heads. I was also headhunted by a technology PR firm in the UK to do a lot of PR content and PR activity. And that's where I really got enrolled into, the whole comms landscape and how that all worked. So it was an incredible, incredible moment in my life, probably one of the most exciting times in my career. And then I met my husband in the UK and we wanted to start a family. And I've always wanted a beach lifestyle. So we decided to come back to Australia to start a family. So in Australia, I was lecturing. So I lectured at Macleay College in business news, journalism and professional news practice, as well as media law. So it was really, really rewarding to be able to share knowledge. And again, I felt like my passion for knowledge sharing really thrived in that environment. I had finished my master's in journalism in the UK, and I just felt like I really needed to use that to be able to share all my experiences and knowledge with the next generation of journalists. And it was an amazing opportunity. And at the same time, I was writing for CMO Magazine and Computer World and PC World and some of the other technology magazines across the IDG publication arms. And when coming back to Australia and dealing with these new publications, so I was interviewing a lot of marketers, a lot of CMOs, CIOs, CDOs. I started to understand the marketing and technology landscape, AI, programmatic, all these really new and emerging ecosystem issues. And I started seeing at the same time, I was getting pitched, 200 pitches a day by PR firms. And I could see just, oh, goodness me, these PR firms don't understand technology. They don't understand the ecosystem. They're pitching things that don't make sense. Their press releases are impossible to understand. I was doing a little bit of freelance work for King Content at the time as well. And I could see the content marketing landscape also needed a lot of transformation. And it got to a point when I thought, you know what, I think it's time I actually started my own agency and address this gap in the market and actually be able to provide services to clients to be able to articulate their media and marketing messages through different formats, not just through written, but through video, creative, data storytelling, podcasts, through multiple formats, and to be able to scale that through the right media and marketing channels. And I really felt that this is where I'm supposed to be with all my skills and all my experience, all my industry contacts. This makes perfect sense to me in the whole business ecosystem. And my instincts were right, because our business, it's been going almost 4 years. We've, really grown quickly. We've got a wonderful team. We have clients all over the world, from Australia, Canada, US, UK, Singapore, Israel, India, you name it. And we have evolved. We've managed to become resilient through COVID. We've transformed internally. We've transformed.
So just with that, I can hear so many different wonderful different threads there, and thank you. That's an amazing journey and an amazing story. And so I'm really interested because I kept hearing the theme of communication coming out there. So the medium and the way that you were doing a different role or different work has in some way, shape or form been about communication, different markets, different countries, etc. And so do you want to share a little bit about, well, what does success mean to you in terms of communication, in terms of your mindset around communication?
Yeah, that's quite a deep question about, what communication actually means. I think, what does success mean around communication? So we are a global, ecosystem. So as a business landscape, we need to communicate effectively to the US, to the UK, to EMEA, to APAC, the APAC region. If we want to actually articulate our business messages, our personal messages, our clients' messages at scale, we need to be able to understand how to communicate effectively across borders and be able to be nuanced in those regions to deliver our message effectively, to make the changes we want to make.
And I'm also thinking much closer to home. So you came back to Australia and you got married and had a family, and with the husband and the children and your staff to some degrees, because you see staff members 8 hours a day. What do you think have been some of the things, and what does success mean to you around communication? Is it communicating with your husband or your children in a way where you get the result that you want? I realise we can talk about big scaling, United Emirates or UK or US, but I think people are really looking for that human element of you as a communication specialist with all of this knowledge and all of this understanding about how to communicate. What are some of the key things that you think are about success for you in communicating with your husband and children?
Yeah, I think that really is very close to home, because my husband is also now my business partner.
Wow.
And before we worked together on the business, we thought we communicated with each other perfectly. When we started working on the business, we just felt like we were on different planets. For at least a year and a half, we were on different planets. I obviously come from a media background. He comes from a design and technology background. So our ways of communicating are very, very different. So to be able to unpack how to communicate effectively with each other, putting the time together to really understand each other's ways of understanding things, opening up ourselves to listen. So communication isn't just talking at someone, but also listening to them. So those things, I feel personally, to be able to listen, really, really deeply listen and be empathetic, understanding my husband's approach to business or his point of view or the challenges he's identified, to really sit and listen and deep dive, take the time. One thing running a business, especially amidst the pandemic, we're always rush. So to be able to take the time to listen and really communicate with respect, I feel that has really helped us to be on the path towards success, to be empathetic to each other and to be really respectful of each other's point of view. Even if we feel that point of view is wrong or, we have issues with it, it's okay. We respect each other's point of view. We express our point of view and we work through all our differences. That is so much easier said than done. That can take years. And a lot of people give up. I know a lot of husband and wife business partnerships that they just disintegrate, within months, is because it's in the too hard basket. It's extremely challenging. It's imposing on personal life as well. But I feel
do you think that your background is part of what's helped you to be successful with that? I mean, moving to different countries, different cultures, as you were saying about here in Australia, being a young woman trying to have a career when the system didn't necessarily work for you. It was actually quite derogatory. And I loved when you talked about going to London and then getting your confidence back. I myself have lots of different stories, and I know every woman I talk to has similar kinds of stories where, especially in Australia, we don't really name how much of a patriarchal society we live in, but it means that throughout your career as a woman, you're struggling to get the same opportunities as your counterparts, your male counterparts would. But I really think that there's a wonderful theme here throughout, that you then got all of these amazing skills that have really helped you, not only with your husband and children, but your husband as a partner in your business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also important to realize building your confidence in one career is one thing, but then transitioning from being a journalist to a business owner, you need to learn a whole lot of other skills and build confidence pretty much from scratch. Because when I started the business, I was still very much pigeonholed as, oh, you were just a journalist, or you were just a writer, you're not a marketer, or you don't know anything about PR, or you don't know anything about this, or going into a boardroom full of, white middle-aged men and being the only woman, with dark hair, funny sounding name, different look, and very overwhelming, and being pigeonholed as just this or just that, and having to really prove your worth and prove your value. And I feel that it took a long time to build the actual credibility. And I felt like I had to work super hard, super fast to build that credibility.
I love this, because what we want to talk about on the show today is a lot of things around mindset and tips for what's been a successful mindset for you. And I've already heard you share wonderful stuff about confidence and about listening, and also now about, the courage to go into those settings and those environments where, they're making fun of your name, or you're the only woman there. Even the other not long ago, I was in a meeting room where the client was a large bank, and I looked around the room and thought, they're actually talking a different language to me. We were here in Sydney, but they were talking a different language to me. And it was really quite, how do I value add so that I don't just get seen as the wallflower in the corner? And it was just quite bizarre to, again, adjust, adapt. And I think, such powerful and strong women like yourself, it's adjust, adapt. But would there be other mindset tips that you think of for success that you can share with people?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I do want to reiterate how important those points are, Michelle. Having confidence, being agile and being able to adapt, being, to evolve. I think those things are really, really important, especially now, in a pandemic where things are changing, things are happening really quickly. I think also from my own mindset, I do feel that running a business and growing it, the whole concept of a successful mindset and the way we've been programmed to think what success looks like from a business leadership perspective, I think needs to change. There's a really great pie chart out at the moment that says, how we taught to measure success as business leaders, and it's like 50% salary, 50% job title, and then it presents a new way, which is your mental health, your physical health, your job title, your salary, free time, and liking what you do. A nice balance of all of those. That brings about your feeling of success within you. But at the end of the day, it's all about balance. I kind of feel like, and I'm going to ruffle a lot of feathers with this, but Mark Bouris, he's an amazing CEO, entrepreneur, and mentor. But a lot of his content that's out on LinkedIn, has things that glorify burning the candle at both ends and being up until 3 a.m. and, just glorifying overworking and working overtime as a signal of success. And I don't feel that that's relevant anymore in a pandemic. And especially now, we have so many tools and resources and technology at our fingertips that we can now work smarter, not harder. So I think a successful mindset is about understanding how to work smarter and also balancing that with your base needs of your mental and physical well-being, connecting with your community and your family, and having time to create memories. I think memories are what really drive us as human beings, memories and connection. And I think to always keep in your mind how important it is to create beautiful memories and to create real human connections. Those things will drive a successful mindset.
I do a lot of work, and I've spoken a few times already this year about legacy. What is the legacy that you're going to leave? And it ties in nicely to what you were talking about there in terms of some of the very big social influencers who, every time I see them, and I know that they have a bit of a cult following, and I'm quite horrified because a lot of what they're proposing is actually contrary to what is also becoming very popular now around having good mental health and speaking up if you need help and all of those things. And you still have, like you said with Mark Boris, a number of quite influential social influencers who are still very much in that old aggressive male mindset of do it or die. It's a bit like the Marines, do it or go. Don't, if you're not going to do it 100%, then go home. And I think that mindset, just like we see with Trump and a number of different examples, Brexit around the world, there's kind of this phenomenon that they're talking about around the death of the Western or the white Anglo culture as other cultures become stronger and larger in population around the world. And so I think seeing those angry men, and that's partly why I dislike a lot of those social influencers, they just come across to me as bullies and angry. But I appreciate that there's a large following that like that type of leadership style and like being yelled at and told to go home or, do it 100%. But I also think that what's so wonderful now is that technology means that you and I can have these kinds of conversations. Women typically previously would have been quite hidden and we would have had a lot of trouble getting access to this kind of technology because it would have been within certain groups. So I think that for women, it's not now about becoming like the men to get to the top, and we don't need to become like a Margaret Thatcher or somebody that was much more male in personality traits. You can actually be much more yourself, whether that's male or female, but there's also all of those different types of options now. So not all men need to be like a Mark Boris or a Gary Vaynerchuk and yell at people and be, quite bullying in the way that they say things. Some of their stuff's great, but the way that they're saying it is actually really aggressive. And as a leader, it's not very servant leadership. It's not very kind. It's not very respectful. It's basically just army style. But there is, there's always times and places for things, and there's always different horses for different courses. And so I love those points that you're making around, finding that balance and finding your tribe. I talk about that a lot on this show, about finding your tribe and finding the people that resonate. So just like there's people that will resonate with a Mark Boris kind of hardcore 1950s style of doing things.
It doesn't work. It's leading to 75% of CEOs suffering from burnout. It doesn't work. It's not sustainable. It might have worked in the 1950s, before technology, before this 24/7 global working culture. It's actually completely unsustainable now. It's causing CEOs and CIOs and CFOs and CMOs to land in hospital, have heart attacks, get cancer at a young age. 99% of all illnesses are stress related. It actually is not working. And the pandemic is actually showing how much that old mindset isn't working, that we need to find out better ways and healthier ways to approach leadership and business.
Well, I think the gig economy, exactly, because everybody now needs to know how to become a self-leader. And because of the gig economy, where people are going to have a number of different jobs, even in our careers, we've had, quite different and different countries, different lifestyles, reinvented and built our lives in different places, doing different jobs at different times. So there's going to be a lot more of that as younger people and everybody moves into the gig economies with digitisation of everything. So I completely agree. We're coming down to the home stretch now. And if you were to talk to your younger self, just as I check on Facebook and elsewhere if there's other comments and questions, if you were to ask your younger self or talk to your younger self, what might be some advice that you would give to your younger self?
This is an interesting one. First, have confidence. Really, build confidence as a skill, because confidence, you're not born with it. It's a skill. You can build it. Have confidence and self-belief. Number two, if you feel like an opportunity that is closed, don't worry, because another one will always open. You'll always find another opportunity out there. And three, do not listen to your parents. What I've found personally is when I haven't listened to my parents, I've gone against their advice, I've always succeeded.
Is that what your children are saying about you, though?
I don't think so.
Next week, we're going to have one of your kids on the show.
She's only 4.
Oh, that's fabulous. So I really like that, because I think with such dramatic career shifts and having gone through different countries, different careers, and then really watched, I think the other key thing for people to take away from today is that you were really smart about the transferability of your skills. So you were watching what was happening in the marketplace and then transferring your skills into the new growth areas. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's something for people to really take away as a mindset success tool from today. That, if you were a journalist today, then, well, what else can you do? There's so many other things. You're not going to lose your job and lose everything just if the newspaper shuts down, etc. But what else around that?
I think it's also important, building from there, is not to attach too much of your personal identity to one career. Because I sort of feel like our talent skill set is almost like investing. When you invest in shares, you sort of look at the stock market, you see what's going up, what's going down, you invest in the right things and watch that grow. And for yourselves, you look at the career market and the job market, you see which industries are on the rise, where there's gaps, where there's a decline. Okay, you invest in yourself, you invest in learning and education, and then you go to those careers that have those growth opportunities. And I guess that goes back to the adaptability and agility that you mentioned. And I suppose going back to, your younger self, is that the world is going to change fast. So you're going to have to keep on learning, keep on evolving. You're not going to be studying, law and expect you're going to be a lawyer for the rest of your life. That might not happen. It might even happen to the lawyers that are actually employed right now, or the doctors, or those in tax and accounting. In about 20 years' time, those jobs are going to look very different.
Very different. And I think that that's really important for people to recognise, that those core skills. So for you, I really hear it's about communication, and I'd think of you as a communication specialist, and then your job and your role is just the current form that you're doing it in. So how can people get in contact with you and find out a little bit more about what you and your business do?
Yeah, the best way to connect is first on LinkedIn, on my personal LinkedIn. So Azadeh, Azadeh Williams. I think I'm the only Azadeh Williams on LinkedIn, so it's pretty easy to find me. And our website, you can go, is azkmedia.com, so azkmedia.com. And we have a really great knowledge hub that is packed with resources. So whether in your technology, media, marketing, it's a must to have a look at. It's absolute wealth of content there. And we have a really great podcast as well. So you can have a look at our podcast, see these incredible thought leaders that we've interviewed as well. And, feel free to just, stay in touch with me.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show this week. It's been such an absolute pleasure, and so wonderful. Good to go on that journey with you from journalism and everything in between, and London and back to Australia again in the northern beaches to raise some kids and start a digital global company. So we've covered quite a lot of, I feel like we've been around the globe a few times today. So thank you so much for coming on the show, Azadeh.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. It's been a real delight having a good chat and traveling back to memory lane for a bit.
That's so fabulous. Well, everybody, we come to the end of this week's show. And again, I feel like we could be talking for another couple of hours because my guest has just been so incredibly wonderful and so generous of her spirit and of her experience and knowledge to share with us today. And now I'm excited to talk about next week, which is International Women's Day. So I have so many different guests across the week. Please, please, please tune in next Tuesday and I will tell you all about the different guests. But until then, I would love for you to be fabulous, be you, and be great.